is. It's probably, the giant fucking moose pills I have to take.
You've only taken one so far.
It's still huge.
What made you want to become a moose, Randall?
Well, I mean, they are.
He's always
cool.
been a moose. Now he's just transitioning.
And is this Bullwinkle or just?
I know. Do you have a squirrel friend? They are amazing antlers on them. Oh, yeah. No, Bryce is the squirrel friend.
Yes, Bryce is the squirrel friend.
You do look great in an aviator hat.
It's true.
I think I could still do it. Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
That was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pistol.
Pretty good. That's really good.
Need to find me a new hat.
And now here's something we hope you really like.
I watched way too much of that show when I was a kid.
That was a great show. Great.
That's the whole reason that I use the double title is because of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Because at the end of every Fractured Fairy Tale, they would have...
Yes, they did.
Or no, the beginning of the Fractured Fairy Tale, they would have the title and then the alternate title.
Yep. God, see? You're a peek behind the curtain. This is a dip into our psyches.
Oh my God, my arm has disappeared. Oh, there it is.
Ooh.
Disappearing magic.
Ooh. Speaking of magic.
And speaking of disappearing magic, that was awkward AF.
Just like you, my love.
Yeah, of course. Welcome to You're No Fun Anymore, the podcast where we deal with our nostalgia. I'm Randall.
I'm Dana.
I'm Bryce.
I'm Alexandra. And I'm Helen.
And stir up that cauldron, and I don't know what else like magical you could do, and bury your dead boyfriend.
Yeah.
You could have gone wave that wand, but no.
Wave that wand, no. They don't really use wands.
They don't have wands.
Blow on those candles.
Blow on those candles. Because we're going back to 1998's Practical Magic, or Deader Bones in Gardens.
Nice.
That was pretty
classy.
That was pretty
That's
awful.
a thinker.
That's a good one.
I was also this one doesn't work as well, but I really like it. Mariticide Doors.
I do mine. Can I do mine?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so first there was Sisterhood of the Magic Pants.
Yep.
And then Randall audibly groaned at this one, but Spelma and Louise.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah. I changed that to Spell Moms because everybody's
Spell
a mom.
Moms and Louise.
So I think we need to have a drinking game for this episode.
Wow, we're getting wasted tonight, huh? Okay.
For our listeners
right.
at home.
I've got a case. Let's go.
There we go.
Every time Bryce or Helen or Alex goes, sisters.
Everyone has to drink. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting wasted.
It's going to happen a lot.
Yeah, it's fair.
Okay, it's also Randall had like a moment about sister relationships.
It's very
He
strange.
not having a sister and him being a cisgendered man had really, really, really deep feelings about sister relationships during this movie.
I mean, I think maybe this is why this movie is falling across the lines that it is.
We had the same conversation, Dana.
Only child, no connection to the whole sister thing. So that's the whole movie.
Also, I really did I read this book when I was in, the
book looks so dark.
Yeah, very different feel.
That's usually the case, though,
speaking
right?
of dark, I had one more title. Necromancing the Chode.
Oh, wow.
The Owens sisters are two beautiful witches.
Hang on to your husbands, girls.
With one wicked problem.
She has the worst taste in men.
Any man they fall for falls victim to a deadly curse.
Any man who wins the heart of an Owens woman is bound to end up 6 feet under.
And as hard as they try,
Oh my God!
they can't keep their loves
I feel like I'm never gonna see you again.
alive.
It was an accident.
It was fate.
It was a curse, wasn't it?
Now, a detective
Is he cute? In a very penal code sort of way, yeah.
is looking for answers.
Did you or your sister kill James Angelo?
Oh, yeah.
But the only kind of magic
You just look familiar.
We never met before. I would remember it if we had.
that can break the evil spell
What would you do, Joey? What wouldn't I do for the right guy?
is the magic of two people
Magic isn't just spells and potions.
who discover the power
What I'm saying is, don't witch.
You know, all relationships have problems.
of true love. Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman. Practical Magic.
Content warning. This selected film may contain scenes depicting the following: attempted hanging, domestic violence, murder, vehicular manslaughter, poisoning, implied drug use, mild language, sexual innuendo, necromancy and resurrection, excessive off-hours cocktail consumption, criminally puritanical footwear, sorcery shaming, and smoking. And now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
It's Helen, like this movie, it's an entirely different feel.
I know, but we had the same thing with like Witches of Eastwick, which was super dark.
Not to the same extent. Like I remember I read Practical Magic, I think the year that the movie came out. And I remember being so upset when I finished it because it just made me feel sad and kind of icky.
Oh, okay.
Definitely
yeah,
doesn't.
it's a little, it's definitely got intense parts.
I have the book, but I haven't read it yet. I was going to use it as a feel-good read during the middle of spooky season, but that sounds like it's not.
It is not.
No.
It is very, very focused on the dead boyfriend aspect, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
Like,
way more about, well, we'll get into that later because we should set up the
Focus
year.
on the year.
Because the year is 1998.
That was a good year.
And boy.
It was. Graduated from high school.
Yeah. Is it a good year? Welcome to the age of autotune, and arguably the most memorable use of this new technology, or new-ish, would be Cher's electropop club monster, Believe. That drops this year.
I love Cher.
Yeah, by Warner Brothers, by the way, who did this movie, was also celebrating its 75th anniversary this year. I don't know if you noticed that, because they still had like the 75th anniversary on the version that we watched. Yeah, so this would dominate the charts in over 23 countries, becoming her 5th #1 hit in the States and her biggest hit in the States to date. It would sell over 11 million copies, not to mention become the catalyst of autotune use as almost like a vocoder or a talk box effect, from everything to hip hop to folk acts for the next decade.
Yep.
In other related music news, the not yet Princess of Pop Britney Spears would be in Sheeran Studios in Sweden this year to record the back half of her upcoming debut album, Baby One More Time, with master producer Max Martin. Just had to throw that in there because why not? In sadder news, things finally come to a close as the legendary game company, Springfield, Massachusetts' own Milton Bradley, would be no more. The 138-year-old company at this time, 124 of those years, it was family owned, would be taken behind the barn with its one-time rival Parker Brothers by their mutual parent company Hasbro, and be put down for good as they merged the two arch nemesis together into what is now called Hasbro Games. Yeah, that's sad.
That hurts.
Fun little aside, the South African distillery Reinet announced that it had raised investment funds this year to start their own tequila. And I'm going to put that in quotes because the tequila spirits in the town of Grafrenet, they were going to use locally grown agave. However, the Tequila Regulatory Council, based out of Mexico, as well as a lot of protests from, actual tequila producers, forced the South African company to rename it Spirit of Agave, as only true tequila can be produced in certain regions of Mexico. Dynamic duo Serena and Venus Williams this year would go head to head for the first time at the Australian Open. These two powerhouses would go to face each other an additional 30 times over the next 2 decades. They would actually see each other twice, once at the Australian Open and again in Italy. But more importantly, together this year, they would win 2 doubles titles. Overall, they would take 22 titles as double partners. That includes 14 majors and 3 gold medals. So sometimes it's just better to work together.
With your sister. Drink.
Absolutely. But not all girl power is meant to last, as this year would also see Jerry Halliwell of the Spice Girls feeling maybe a little too much girl power, as she would leave the Spice Girls this year in the middle of the Spice World Tour. By the way, that remained the most successful concert tour by a female group in history until being edged out by K-pop foursome Blackpink on their world tour.
So what happens when you leave a group in the middle of a tour? Do they just get like
your manager's probably pretty furious at you?
Yeah, she had cited like confounding issues with the rest of the band and depression from the tour, because it was a pretty exhausting several years.
I bet it was.
But it was like basically right as they stopped the European tour and we're going to shift over to North America. So if you did see them in the 90s, you'll notice that it was only the 4.
Wow.
And finally, it's a year of a lot of premieres, but this one is a doozy, as 1998 would usher in MTV's Total Request Live, or TRL,
oh, wow,
as the youth would call it.
I always thought it was earlier.
I thought so too.
Earlier 90s.
No, they had MTV Live.
MTV Live.
That was a different version, but this is the one that
TRL
was.
When was your shot to host contest? Because I think
that was also 1998.
Was it really? I thought that was
Oh yeah, I
guess I was still in high school. I graduated.
That introduced us to Jesse
in 98.
Camp.
I watched that contest like live.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
A lot of people
Not
did.
there with Jesse and Dave.
Was that the one with Dave Holmes?
Yeah, Dave Holmes.
Dave Holmes.
Yeah, the great Dave Holmes.
I love Dave Holmes.
Well, anything's better than Jesse Camp.
Yeah.
This countdown style hour-long program ran during the week, rattling through the most requested music videos of the day via phone voting or online.
God, yes.
Which was fancy and new. This also introduced the world to an aggressively average man talent, Carson Daly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Who would mind-bogglingly become a sex symbol to the throngs of adolescents watching at this time. Well, I guess when you put him next to the folk crust punk prep school weirdo Jesse Camp, I guess Carson is a catch. And speaking of fawning over aggressively mediocre men.
Oh, shut your mouth.
Oh,
okay.
Shut up.
Mouth.
Is this what we're going to fight about?
First of all, I kind of love Jesse Camp. Jesse Camp.
Ew.
Yeah. Jesse Camp was walking herpes.
Yeah,
but he was still fun.
I thought we were going to start fighting about Aiden Quinn already, and I'm like, gloves off. Here for
it. On Aiden Quinn.
Also, Aiden Quinn is great. And like Feuerstein, who is a mensch.
She is adorable, and I wish the whole movie had been about him.
I know. We have this thing. He does not get enough screen time.
I think he is absolutely middling. Middling. And in a cast filled with like absolutely gorgeous, exceptional women and actresses, like he is a 7-head walking around completely unimportant to anything.
Are you talking about Aiden Quinn? Yeah. Aiden Quinn is a lovely, non-toxic masculinity.
Sure.
He's got like the whole kind of like...
Except he's abusing his power as a police officer. He's really making out with a murder...
Not abusing his power. He's actually not like being the like strict authoritarian.
I'm sorry. I'm going to call foul on making out with your murder suspect. I'm going to say that's bad. Also, can you imagine casting a spell when you were a child for your true love and waiting your whole life and then finding out Aiden Quinn?
Seeing as not a camp, but seeing as he's a witch and has supernatural powers and could probably turn him into a literal toad. I think the power imbalance is on her side in that she is way more powerful. And because if he tries to shoot at her at any point or something, she could turn the gun into flowers.
Yeah, but she didn't take like an oath to uphold like law and order. And like,
no, she literally manifested him into existence.
Right.
I don't think that's true because he would have already been alive.
He was alive.
Middling.
Riding backwards on a pony.
Middling.
Which is a good point. Like, did he exist and she just happened to describe this person that existed somewhere else? Because that doesn't make sense.
No,
that part
sure does. It's magic.
He's older than
There's
her.
a lot of things that are just kind of like thrown in there because of, magic, which we'll get into because this movie came out on October 16th, 1998. Practical Magic making its bow at number one during the spooky season.
For good reason, sisters.
Yeah.
Drink.
With over 13 million beating out fellow Halloween Fair Bride of Chucky, as well as Toni Morrison's haunted adaptation, Beloved.
Oh, wow.
Also debuting this weekend was Todd Solondz's intense and incredible human misery portrait, Happiness.
Oh, God, that was
That is a movie we will not be watching.
Yeah,
that's
I was just going to say, let's never watch that movie.
Yeah, I really like that film, but it is a lot.
I want to see it. I want to see it now.
You don't.
You'd be really upset.
You really don't.
It's not an Alex
It's very
film.
it's very
Are there
complicated.
dead bunnies?
No, it's just really complicated.
There's child
molestation. Child molestation.
If you really want to have the worst day ever, watch Happiness and Kids as a double feature.
I was going to say, and then just finish it off with Welcome to the Dollhouse.
I think that was actually a double feature at
Solondz,
at the Angelica,
that tracks.
I don't know. I just love that he's like one of the most begrudgingly like he had to be like coaxed back into filmmaking, and he's still so goddamn good. Also, this debuting is John Hughes' final producer-writer project before his demise, the incredibly dull Reach the Rock.
Don't even remember.
The other one that I really wanted to point out, this is just a U.S. debut of a Canadian film. It's a little indie black comedy called The Alarmist, with Stanley Tucci, David Arquette, Kate Capshaw, Mary McCormick, and a very, very baby-faced Ryan Reynolds playing a teenager.
People I love.
Yeah, it's actually it's pretty okay for a comedy, but the funny part is that the working title for that was Life During Wartime, which happens to be the title of the bizarre continuing expanded films of Todd Solondz. I think it came out in 2009, which is kind of like a continuation of Palindromes and Happiness and Welcome to the Dollhouse. I don't know. It barely would be beat out the second week by Pleasantville, which
Pleasantville. That one was good.
Which only took 8.7 million, and I think Pleasantville was like just like 60K north of that. So it almost had its like 2 number 1 weekends. Unfortunately, the magic would not last, as it would only pull over 68 million over its total run, which is far short of its reported $75 million budget.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
they spent $75 million on.
They did a lot.
They built
work.
that whole house.
They built that house. Yeah.
That's not an existing like structure. They built that just for the movie and tore it down afterwards. Yeah. Why tore it down?
Because
it was a murder mystery tour.
No, it's a complete facade that they actually built it on top of a platform because they were not allowed to break dirt, as it is land that is owned by, I think that was on San Juan, so that is native.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and so like part of the agreement was like, the second that you're done doing this, you have to pull it all out, and it can't.
That makes sense.
And
that's fine.
It's kind of amazing that, you know, all the shots that they get, it looks amazing. Like
it looks like an old Victorian house in New England.
Yeah. It reminds me, oddly enough, because it is shot in San Juan and Friday Harbor and a lot of parts on Whidbey Island, and I've grew up around a lot of that. And
Randall
was
really like Pacific Northwestern all over this movie.
Yeah, and it reminded me of my my middle school. We actually got, I don't think it was permanently banned, but we definitely got banned from Friday Harbor because we were horrible children.
Most of them are.
Yeah, that was one of those ill-fated field trips that I'm sure everybody regretted giving us access to.
Were you chanting the worst chant ever? Like the most uninspiring, like,
no, it was,
witch, you're a bitch?
No,
that's just
a lot
lame.
Of it was,
sorry, guys.
Yeah, that is pretty lame.
And the fact that they never change it from the
never
60s.
change it for 300 years.
I mean, she's got a very good point. Like, they could have just changed it,
Yeah.
Like,
you had all the time in the
vernacular
world. But no, we were just horrible vandals and unruly children.
I gotcha.
But like all children are in middle school.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really enjoy the visual aspects of this. There's still part of my brain that ticks it because it's trying to be too sweet in places where it shouldn't be.
That was kind of my problem with it. And I find it very interesting because it is a rom-com.
Yep.
Like at its heart, it is a rom-com. But, well, that's what I was about to say. Neither Randall or I likes it. And Randall and I are the rom-com people.
Yeah.
Because it's not a rom-com really about the couple.
That's the problem. Is that it was presented like it feels like a rom-com. It's presented as a rom-com, but it is not actually a rom-com.
Yeah.
It's a buddy cop. It's a buddy.
It's a movie about sisters. Like that.
It's sisters.
It's a family movie. Well, and also like the romantic interest didn't enter the movie until halfway through.
Right.
Like,
it doesn't matter.
But it's not a rom-com. It's like not even a romance. It's about Sandra Bullock's growth for herself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You've got Sandra Bullock in the movie, which automatically at that point in time makes it a rom-com because that's all she was doing then.
No, this is right after
Demolition Man.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
The next.
I mean, sorry,
No.
isn't Speed a rom-com?
No. Speed and Demolition Man happened several years before this, before she was famous.
No, this is immediately after Speed 2. This is the first thing she did
but
after
she
that.
had, like, While You Were Sleeping was in the middle there. I think there was some other romantic comedy in there too. She was in her romantic comedy phase.
I think this might have started the romantic comedy phase.
No.
But I don't think she was like.
While You Were Sleeping did that.
Yeah.
But that's
Also,
the point being there's this weird focus on the romantic part of it, and the whole plot kind of revolves around the curse around the men that they date, and yet none of that really applies to what the movie is or should be about.
Also, that was never in the book.
No, it was not.
No, there was no like man curse in the book.
Oh, really?
No, it was
but there is the dead husband.
Yeah, there's the dead husband, which totally makes sense. But this whole like weird man curse thing was
maybe.
Just very bizarre.
That kind of seems like how they were trying to shoehorn it into a rom-com, right? Because she's like unlucky in love, right? Because of this curse.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicole Kidman is equally unlucky in love because she has horrible taste in men. But you're right. The actual true story of it is sisters.
Yeah.
Right.
Drink.
Yeah. But I don't think it's just sisters. It's also like best friends and like, you know, having like a strong network of women that support each other.
The aunts in this are way more present than they are in the novel.
Yeah.
Also, the girls
I mean, if you get Stalker Channing and Diane Weiss, like you give them some meat, you know?
Like,
like,
do you think they actually had meat? I think they
did. I love them. I love them. I want to go.
I adore both Stalker
do the solstice. No, I love the characters. Like I want to join them on the summer solstice and dance naked under the moonlight. And
I don't think they had any more meat than Aunt Zelda and oh my God, what's the other one from Sabrina Teenage Witch? Hilda. They don't have that meat to them. They're just there to make the plot move along. I think they could have given them a ton more to do and they would have been I
think they're so like comfortable in their characters that they don't need a lot because like the way they just kind of come in at the end and they're like, oh, we're not swooping in to save the day just in the nick of time as we thought we were. Our timing's off. Like I feel like they just seem so like comfortable in their characters that you don't need to have all that much explanatory kind of like scenes with them, you know?
Explanatory, I want them to have more to do.
Well, plus their outfits in every single scene were fabulous.
All the outfits were great.
Aiden Quinn, who was middling.
No, that
no,
like,
I loved all of his quasi cowboy wear.
Cowboy. It was just like it's like 70s cowboy.
I do find it odd.
What's a tan?
Aiden Quinn was on my list when I was like 9.
Adorable.
Did you know what a list was?
Adorable that you had a list at 9.
What did you think you did at 9?
Exactly. What was this list to allow you to do?
He was going to be my boyfriend. I'm pretty sure that's what my list was.
All right. Okay.
But it was like, that was, Fred Savage and Andrew McCarthy. And I'm pretty sure that Aiden Quinn was on there right around there, primarily because of the eyes.
How do I always instinctively like shit on the dudes you like, Dana?
We are the exact opposite, Bryce. We are polar opposites, which means that everything I like, you don't, except Randall. Randall is the thing in the middle. We both enjoy Randall.
But I don't think that you would want to build a romantic life with Randall.
I do not. No.
That would be weird.
That's why we can be friends.
I don't even want to do that. So Stalker Channing was actually like a last minute addition.
Shame on them.
Well,
yeah, she should have been first.
Oh, I think she's absolutely great. The producer of this is like one of the most incredible Uber producers out there, Denise DiNovi. She likes to be on set when she's working at that, but she was doing Message in a Bottle with Robin Wright and Kevin Costner at the same time. So she was like literally just going from one set in the Pacific Northwest, then back to the other one, and then only sleeping on planes, like just to make back and forth. But originally in the casting for this, they had approached Vanessa Redgrave and they were in negotiations with her, and apparently that just never ended up working out, and then Stalker Channing took that role instead.
But that Stalker Channing and Diane Weiss, it's such a good kind of like
combo,
like light and dark,
I don't see Vanessa
fresh and sweet and kind of like
Vanessa Redgrave would have been way too serious.
At that time,
too serious.
I think, well, maybe. Yeah.
Has she ever done anything light? I can't think of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I can't think of what it is, but
she is not she's like Daniel Day-Lewis. She's not like your super fun time actor.
No.
You're right, though, Bryce. The costumes are just the best. That not just on the aunts, on the sisters, on Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman's, all those maxi skirts. I just love them.
It does suffer from like late 90s shoes.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The shoes are awkward, and those really like giant like mules. I remember having those like wooden soled mules that you like Nicole Kidman cannot walk in. Like you're just falling out of them half the time.
Yeah,
but those tiny little sunglasses, the little wireframe sunglasses.
I was like, why are you wearing those the whole time?
So good.
No, I think it's really strange because like there were some of those moments when I was walking, like, oh my God, what do you have on your feet, lady?
Yeah,
we all
especially
did,
with
though.
like Sandra Bullock, and I was like, everything else is really working.
Beautiful.
And then these just like the only way I could describe them is like canoes. Like just flared out jeans and canoes on the bottom.
Yep.
Like, ooh, that's rough.
do think this is maybe the most beautiful Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock ever lived.
Totally.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah.
They're both stunning in this movie.
Absolutely.
Everything
perfect.
is gorgeous in this film. Like
their long hair, like I just makes me want to have more hair.
Well, I need
than
somebody to
do.
assure me that those were extensions, because that cannot be possible in real world.
No.
Nicole Kidman in particular is apparently very well known for like the collection of wigs that she has. I don't know if we've ever seen her real hair.
Great. Yeah. That makes me
way back and far and away.
That makes me feel better.
Maybe.
But the hair that like Diane and Stalker, I know I can have long hair into my 60s. That's like inspired me to have that kind of hair in my older age. Like is what I want to do. You know, like I want to have the old gray hair that is like super long and witchy. Like I've always wanted it. Yeah.
I like that they just had those subtle hints throughout the movie that they're incredibly older than they actually present.
Yeah.
And that was part of the costume designing too, where they purposely would dress them in these like almost turn of the century.
Well, exactly. Whose aunts are they?
Yeah.
Whose aunts are they? Are they the mom's aunts? Are they great aunts?
You don't know.
Whose aunts are they?
But then why? Well, I guess the mother dies young, so we don't know whether that was passed from generation to generation.
Yeah, it's and considering the whole thing starts off in like what I would assume is the 17th century. Unless people were just really into cosplay at this one particular town. I mean, it's
King Richard's fair. Yeah, they do say 300 years, so you know.
Yeah, and I absolutely love like just that whole beginning, and it sets it up to be to get away with a lot of the fantastical elements right off the bat. Like a lot of this film, I really do enjoy. It just the tone of it feels.
Guys, I got to tell you, every single time I watch it, I cry. I get really emotional. Like we laugh. We're like, oh no, is she gonna be okay? The scene with the coven where they're all doing the broom thing. It's so touching.
Yeah, that's really. I like that when they get the town that
when they get all excited when they're all excited on the phone and they're like, Sally's finally coming out. Yeah. And Margot Martindale is like, that is so affirming.
Would I be the woman who brings a dustbuster to a coven party? I would be. Yeah, that's me.
I would 100% be Margot Martindale, being like, yes, I wanted this whole time.
I think what I really wanted from it is, the scene where Nicole Kidman comes into the classroom.
Yes.
Changes the phone tree.
Yes.
I kept waiting for something really evil to happen at that point. Like she starts messing with the mothers.
I mean, she slaps that one woman.
Yeah, she snaps the 3-ring binder on that one lady.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I wanted. I wanted a little bit more of the craft in this movie, where like the craft, the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my! But I think
they take the opportunity to have some fun with that magic in a bad way, just to get a little more.
They do raise the dead, Dana.
Yeah.
I do.
That's not fun bad magic.
No, that's just like necromancy, which again.
Right. I'm talking fun.
But also they draw a pentagram on his chest with whipped cream.
That is pretty funny.
Also, this is the first time I noticed that Sandy licked it off. I'm like, don't lick whipped cream off a dead man's chest. Just don't.
Yeah.
Although it's Warren Vizsnik and he's
tasty.
Man.
He's very tasty. He's very beautiful.
He may be the bad guy in this, but he was a good guy in ER.
He was a great guy in ER.
My God, that man was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
Again, there was like these moments where just like, oh, I could see this going, and then it turns these, and I don't mind like dark humor. Like I think this could have been an example where you take those kind of things where you make the necromancy thing like kind of funnier, but there's stuff in this that is not funny.
Tied to the chair.
Oh yeah,
and the toads are coming out of the back of the chair.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Like I like the possession part. Like that's kind of an interesting.
Right, but again, that's the dark part.
Right.
I think it needed more of that dark in it to be a more complete movie.
Well, I think this is suffering from.
I think it was definitely aimed more as family, right? So this was like just on the border of scary enough.
Yeah. So one of the screenwriters, Akiva Goldsman, he had talked about the original cut when they were working on it, then was much more focused on the sisters. The kind of like the men in the story were always like the sidelines, and it was much more his focus. But then after test screenings, they literally like ditched the entire soundtrack, which is a shame because the original one was done by Michael Nyman, and it's fantastic. If you ever get a chance to listen to it, it's online, and it's much more ethereal, and it's got a lot of that like minimalist, ambient kind of sound. So when, everybody's gathering, it doesn't have that because they brought in Alan Silvestri to whip it together. And it's way too like la-di-da Dawson's Creek,
It sounds like Home Alone.
Faith Hill. They opened the damn movie with Faith Hill,
Right.
which is so pure romantic comedy.
Yeah.
It's not even like it sets the tone. It's
It's got it's got Joni Mitchell and Stevie Nicks, and it's like,
she wrote that song
Stevie
for
Nicks
this.
is right.
Yeah.
But then you have Faith Hill opening and I believe closing the movie.
I think
which
so.
is like This Kiss was the rom-com song of the 90s.
I don't think it doesn't end with that, or does it end with the Stevie Nicks song?
No, Stevie Nicks is in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Joni Mitchell's in the middle. Stevie Nicks is
That
towards
car
the end.
scene is
I
also
don't
really
remember.
great with the Joni
The car
Mitchell.
scene's great.
Yeah.
I sing along again. One of the times when I'm just transported by this movie.
And the whole midnight margarita scene.
Midnight
Not in the
margaritas.
book.
Come on.
Where you can tell that he's actually like already coming out and kind of like
Affecting them.
and
Yeah.
manipulating them, because he's making Nicole Kidman be a total bitch
Right.
to her sister and to her aunts, calling them frigid and everything. Because then she goes, "Why did I say that?"
Right.
The only thing I would say about the Midnight Margarita scene, which I know is very, very important to a lot of women, is that they stole it from The Big Chill. The Big Chill did it first.
Yeah. But this one is a lot more fun, and apparently they were actually drunk on set. So
Yes, you can tell.
I'm pretty sure they were drunk during that too.
yeah, probably.
They're dancing.
I just love like the idea of midnight margaritas, and we have done it a couple times.
Again, I think that's like it adds a little bit of levity to a movie, especially at that moment when it was. I mean, because the assault scene and then the scene in the car are very intense, and
totally
and
intense.
A lot of the stuff with him, the body wakes up and like literally just tries to strangle her, and
I also. Besides adding levity, like you were saying, Randall, I think the Midnight Margarita scene is really great for showing kind of the closeness and traditions in the family.
Right.
And that they don't all have to be witchy spellness, like that they're just a close family in and of themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
And not everything is like serious all the time, because it's like
chocolate for breakfast, and then once you're old enough, you get midnight margaritas,
But it's just like one of those things. It's like, when you go through a shitty time in life, you have those family members who are like, I know what's going to fix
Which
this.
I think that's my favorite part of this movie is that connection that the sisters have.
Yeah.
Like when Sandra Bullock loses her husband and is in a deep depression and does not get out of bed, and Nicole Kidman from across the country, wherever she is, just knows that she needs her, and they just spend like a couple days commiserating, that is just so moving to me, like it's just so, to have that connection with a person is just like incredible.
Yeah, performance wise, I really, really enjoy how they do feel very connected.
The little way that Nicole Kidman just rubs Sandra Bullock's nose to wake her up, like it's just so familiar, Like they have just these little kind of like pet things that they do with each other.
And I think
dorky Sandra Bullock, who's so sad that Nicole Kidman ran off and she's got her glasses and she's like all grumpy. Oh, I love it.
I think that's why
I get it.
It is very geared to you guys. Because we're only
100%.
children. Like we can only dream about that stuff. It definitely never happened for us. I didn't pet the nose of anybody I went to daycare with.
No.
So it's just not going to happen.
I mean, my brother and I are
I'm now picturing you. I'm
walking up to kids and petting their noses.
Right. No, my brother and I are
tried.
separated
We
by
didn't for it.
basically a whole generation. It's like 17 years. And so we didn't have that, growing up with each other. But, there are connections to things. But I guess, because I remember at one point in this movie when they're sharing like this twin bed, and I was like, do you really do that?
Like not all the time, but like when you're
young.
when you're young, or when you're on vacation, or like you're sick, like you're both sick, like you just toss the kids in the same bed. Here's an off-topic Randall story. Like his brother Mitchell was visiting and they were spending the day together. And then Randall comes home and he's like, I just wanted to punch him and I don't know why. I'm a grown ass. And I'm like, no, that's the innate brotherness coming out.
Yeah, that's the I need to pick on you for some reason. Yeah.
When we were kids, we used to make a fort with the couches and we would just sit in the couches together, which is less room than a twin bed.
Yeah.
Really?
And we would like turn it into like, we would put a blanket over it and just turn it into like a little fort and like read books and eat snacks.
Still, sometimes like if we're just like bored at home or I'm like folding laundry or something, Alex will come and like lie on my bed and we'll just like talk.
Yeah.
Like it's
personal space doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's not a twin bed now though. It's a much bigger bed because we like our space. We like to starfish.
I talk to my dog.
I also talk to my cat.
I did want to mention, so yeah, this film did suffer from the fact that it was basically kind of recut to focus more. They pulled the music, brought in Ellen Silvestri to liven it up with what I think is even for Ellen Silvestri was a pretty lackluster affair as far as like the score goes.
You don't notice the score. You notice the.
Oh no! I noticed the score because it's just like over.
Well, I don't notice the score.
It's like everything
especially
he does
in the
is bombastic.
The preparing
and
the
big.
coven scene was awful.
Yeah,
the music just didn't work.
Yeah, it's way too sweet. It's way too weird. But the director of this is Griffin Dunn, who, as you might know, was an actor. Before he turned director, he was the best friend that got eaten in American Werewolf in London.
Oh,
he was the brother from Johnny Dangerously. He was Tommy Kelly.
Hilarious.
The psychiatrist that gets his teeth knocked out in Succession.
Yep. And he was also in After Hours. And then he was opposite of Madonna and Who's That Girl, which is funny because Aiden Quinn was also opposite of Madonna in Desperately Seeking Susan.
Yeah.
I just thought that's weird, like little connection, but he does a really
good
job.
They talked about Madonna stories.
Oh yeah. Like this was only his second film that he directed. So yeah, the one he did the year previous was Addicted to Love, which is a really uneven comedy with Meg Ryan, Matthew Broderick.
Which also has the rom-com, not a rom-com problem.
Yep. It has exactly the same problem where it's trying to be dark, but then funny. And it doesn't know how to find that balance, which is, I guess, like a thing that he does. I don't know. He also did a 2008's The Accidental Husband. Don't watch that. And a section from Movie Authority 3, but everybody did.
Don't watch that.
Yeah, don't watch that. But yeah, like he was mostly an actor before this. And yeah, like I said, this is the second movie. And I think part of the reason why everybody feels so well connected is because he really did try to focus on a lot of the way that the actors are, performing with each other. And I think it comes across great. Like all of these performances are good. The problem I think I have with it is the writing, which isn't, I don't think, a big problem. It's just tone wise, it's a little odd. But so it has three writers. So it's Adam Brooks, who did French Kiss and Beloved, the movie that opened up this week, the same weekend as this. He would go on to do Definitely Maybe, which is Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason, which is actually better than it should have been. Yeah.
Is that the second one?
Edge of Reason is the second one. It's not good.
It's fine.
It's not good.
It's fine.
It's fine.
And then Robin Swicord, who did Matilda before this, also wrote the 1994 version of Little Women. And I think there was another connection to Little Women. Oh, no, it's Denise Denovi who's produced the current version that was out by Greta Gerwig. A lot of weird crossovers of literature in here. Anyway, that's my random tangent. There was parts of this where I really liked the interactions with the town, but there's really only like two scenes that you get like the town like reacting to
it's
them.
like walking through when the kids are bothering the daughters.
Right. And then like a little bit of it at like that
the PTA
meeting.
Yeah.
But even then there's like no repercussions to that.
Exactly.
Yeah. There should be. There should be more backlash to it. And then suddenly, the town just loves them.
That's the other thing.
That's the whole point of the town loving them is because of the...
Judgmental soccer moms are not going to just show up at the house that they've been mocking for years because the phone tree communicated.
They really respect the phone tree, Dana. Also... They all were like, "Did you? She's got an ex-boyfriend that won't leave her alone." That's the whole it was bonding experience.
It was a tree.
Yeah, it was an actual tree,
and the whole bonding experience of we've all had that ex-boyfriend.
I think it's like the fact that they get over the whole idea of
they're witches and they're weird, and then they actually get to know them as people, and they understand. Oh, she's got horrible taste in men,
right?
And this guy
that doesn't happen naturally. It happens over the course of one sentence in a phone call.
Yeah, there needed to be a little bit more.
I think there's also kind of like the hint that the aunts before Sally and Jilly kind of had their adulthood. The aunts were interacting with the town more than you see, like there's that woman who comes because she's obsessed with this guy she's having an affair with,
who I wish we found out what happened with him.
And she's one of the coven, but she's one of the coven at the end. You know, she's one of the women that comes back.
When she says, "Be careful what you wish for," and the fact that they didn't follow through on that is a problem.
Yeah.
Like there was a story there that could have been told very quickly.
I think a lot of
there
this,
deleted scenes?
Not in the current versions that are out. They like a lot of the people have written about the original cut of this, and unfortunately, I don't think it'll ever see the light of day because a lot of the effects were, not finished. But I think to save time, because this is pretty short.
Yep.
And
it's over 90 minutes.
Yeah, but I think
Just
the original
so, I think.
I think the original film was much more substantial, and I think what ended up hitting the floor was basically all of these like loose ends that are now kind of like sore thumbs that stick out, to focus more primarily on getting Sandra Bullock and Aiden Quinn together as fast as possible. So maybe more of the stuff in there. I know like Griffin Dunn has talked about in different interviews, it's unfortunate a lot of this stuff is lost, but like there's just no way to like, because somebody that asked him, I think it was like there was an article in Vulture or something, they had talked to him about it, and he's just like, yeah, it's just kind of up to Warner Brothers, and they show no interest, and we already lost them a lot of money. I don't think they care.
Right.
Even though it did make it more than made up for whatever it lacked in the theater on VHS and DVD.
In home movie, absolutely. I think this was like one of those
classic.
One of those you rent it for the family movie night or
your coven night,
your coven sleepover. Yeah,
I know this is on a few friends like every Halloween, every October watch.
Like these friends.
Like those friends are, like those sister friends.
Like the sisters. Well, the weird part for me is like, even though it is, primarily based in the supernatural and this like kind of spooky season feeling to it, it's just not there, because I think it's leaning more into what
every season, spooky season.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, but if you believe in yourself.
I find it more of a pre-spooky season, kind of like you've got to exfoliate before you do your Halloween makeup. I think you need some of Sally's, very good herbal face scrubs.
Making sure that you put in places that's not your hair.
Placenta bar sounds great. Give me some of that.
That's a great
and
moment.
Then it's like
he's just talking about the placenta.
I think my favorite moment is when the guy comes in for his scalp condition, and she's like, "You don't put it on your head."
Yeah.
And just kind of does a little glance lower down.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
And also just again, the whole thing, and like this goes back to Alice Hoffman, who like a lot of it kind of leans into more of the realistic, if you can call it that, magical realism. I don't know.
Magical realism, yeah.
Right. And the sense that, there are these fantastic elements to it, but it's still at the end of the day, you own a lotion shop, lady. Like you're basically an apothecary. Like that's
a lotion potion shop.
Yeah.
The book is dark and sad and basically about grief.
Yes.
And connection around grief. So it's a little weird that Sandra Bullock, like I was actually a little bit weirded out by the Midnight Margarita scene because it comes so close to when she's
in her depression,
in bed, like depressed.
Yeah.
Because there's no like Nicole Kidman comes and all of a sudden she's totally fine.
Yeah.
And we never look back.
Well,
no, but the Midnight Margaritas is the second time when she's come back after being
I think
abused by her boyfriend. That's
it's
not
directly after.
It's not the first time. It's the second time that Nicole Kidman comes back.
Yeah. I think this movie does suffer from a weird passage of time. Like,
I think it's weird that Aiden Quinn disappears for the whole last bit after being kind of like rammed into, kind of the rom-com bit of it. It's like, okay, now peace out. You can have your whole.
Do this other thing.
Yeah, I got to do this other thing. I've got to cover up a crime for you.
Right.
Like burn out a car, which is the only evidence we have.
Oh, the other weird thing is, like, speaking of just like writing out of existence, is the kids. The kids have in the book, the kids are a big part. And this one, they're just kind of there, Yeah. Like they kind of are.
Rachel, like baby Evan Rachel Wood, though.
Dead ringer for Nicole Kidman.
Dead ringer for Nicole Kidman.
Really great, yeah.
And she's very good at that kind of like precocious kid who can see dead people in rose bushes, like.
Or that.
And I like that little like weird effect where you kind of see his reflection in the glass, but he's not out there,
I love that.
I also really love
kids
her choker.
The pigtails, like the Wednesday Addams pigtails in each one of their intros.
I love her choker. I love the little kid with the Minnie Mouse ears.
Oh, God.
The actress who played her was named Alexandra.
Oh, yeah.
I think as you guys are talking about it, I'm like scrolling through other Halloween movies, try and figure out what my problem is with this movie. And I think it's just not quite as far as any of the other Halloween.
You just want to watch The Craft.
No, I do want to watch The Craft. But also, I was in my mind comparing it to Hocus Pocus.
I was going to say, you just want to watch Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. Also another sister movie.
Drink.
Yeah.
But it also has a romantic interest that takes such a back seat to the rest of the story that you don't get interrupted in the story of the Sanderson sisters because that romantic thing is so far in the background. And I think that's the problem, is that they put that romance. And this is coming from me, the rom-com queen. They put the romance too far forward. If they had taken it back and push just a little bit more of the darkness forward.
See, but I think this is a rom-com for people who don't like rom-coms, because I don't like rom-coms, and yet this is just the right level of rom-com. Where I'm like,
not a rom-com.
Give me like I actually like the steamy makeout in the hotel room. I was like,
it's like this movie is wearing a costume for Halloween, and that costume is romantic comedy.
Well, and so I justified the romance part of it because I'm like, it's all part of Sandra Bullock's character Sally trying to find herself and allow herself to grow and be happy. So I acknowledge that the romantic part is necessary, but I do think it's shoehorned in, and you only get it for like a weird third of the movie.
And not all at once.
It's like surprise rom-com. Like, hey.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could master what Sally did in this movie and start every relationship just by running up and
just run up to a guy in the street,
passionately embrace them, and then you're gonna get married soon. That's all it takes.
That would make
and him be Mark Feuerstein. Mark Feuerstein is a man.
Does anyone know how to actually say his last name?
Feuerstein.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Well, I know he gets hit by
we
a
watched
truck,
a lot of Royal
hilarious.
Pains. We watched a lot of Royal Pains. He is a true mensch. I've heard him on a podcast recently.
But also he's a snack.
It's a flat snack.
Feuerstein?
Feuerstein?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure. There is that moment where I started really getting involved in it again. Yeah, when the coven comes back, and it's like basically when the magic stuff is there, I got really interested in it. And then also like Sandra Bullock's amazing talent to just be awkward but still adorable, and
I love
poignant.
her so much in this movie.
Yeah, she's got some great little moments like that. And then also playing off of Nicole Kidman, who is very against type in this.
Totally. And phenomenal in it. Also, like the way she does
her strung out when she's possessed.
And she does the like look up, and you can tell that she's brought him in her, you know?
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite things, is when you've got the like Academy Award level actresses in the movies before they became Academy Award level.
Totally.
You can see that glimmer of what's coming. Yeah. And you can definitely, like when she's in the possession and she is like fully, it's not cute possessed.
She is sweaty. She's sweaty. Yeah. She's like panting. It's gross.
Yeah,
and you're like, yes, that is the Nicole Kidman that's going to win an Oscar.
That's one of the scenes I liked from The Coven too, is when they come out because they were having fun in the kitchen, and then they all of a sudden see her, and every shit becomes real for
like,
them.
Oh Christ!
Yeah, and they're like, oh no, this is actually like we are actually
this is life and death.
This is life and death.
Yeah.
And what's her name crying, like tearing up when she sees the sisters drink. Margot Martindale when they're on the ground, and they're like. And she's like, no, you have to stay for me, you know?
Although that is the one moment that I'm like, wow, if I was one of the women who didn't like them that much that just showed up with a broom, that would be so awkward to have to like be part of.
In this very intimate family moment.
Is it awkward if we leave right now? We're gonna just
that was that kind of like one. She's like, do we have to chant too? Are we doing this all in the room? Yes, you're chanting. You're holding brooms and chanting.
Oh man, yeah, there was a lot. Like, I absolutely love that. Yeah, just this, like the amount of star power in the women that they have in this cast
it's really good.
Is impressive. And
Sandra Bullock trying not to lie, but she can't. Like, she's like stumbling over her words. So good.
That moment, she's like, what is wrong with you? Just mouthing what is wrong with you. And then she's just like, I don't know.
I mouth that to my sister like at least once a visit.
All the time. Yeah.
The one thing that is also a difference between the way that the book progresses and this one is a lot of the focus of the story on this is with Sandra Bullock. Whereas it's a little bit more about
shared.
So it's both like Jillian and Sally and how they are dealing with their own like basically traumas and differences in life and like how it interconnects them and binds them, which you get a little bit of it, but most of it focuses in this one in that really, all of it, all the front is like very Sandra Bullock heavy, and then on the back is when we get the Jimmy stuff. And maybe that's why it's like, I think it is just like that whole thing where it's like, you're trying to make me think this is something that is not. And and I want to like the things that I like out of it. But then all of a sudden it's just like, it's playing like whatever cheesy romantic song at the end. And then everybody kisses and it's happy. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
But before they kiss and they're happy, they float down in their stripy socks from the roof with their umbrellas.
That should have been the end.
That should have been the end.
You're right. That should have been the end.
Just them jumping off the roof.
And then the town celebrating and then bringing them in. And then you do that big push out on the house. It's not really a house.
While they're still floating down, you do the big push out. So you see them like coming down as
and then like the crowd goes wild.
Remember to always have your rosemary by your door.
By the garden gate.
Oh yeah. What was the other thing that they put in his bottom?
Grow lavender for luck.
Grow lavender for luck.
Pick lavender for luck.
No, grow lavender for luck.
I was trying to remember the shit that they put in his tequila.
Oh, that's Nightshade.
Nightshade.
It's belladonna.
Belladonna.
Yeah.
Belladonna, which I actually used as eye drops once.
Because there's eye drops that have a little bit of it in there.
Belladonna, and it's because it's a herbal like antiseptic antibiotic. And the reason it's called belladonna is because it's also a muscle relaxant.
Oh, good.
And they would put it in medieval times. Women would put it into their eyes
Elizabethan too.
Yeah, to expand their pupils so that they would have big dark eyes.
Interesting.
Meaning beautiful woman. Belladonna.
And so they would always do their eyes would always look, but it's also poison. It is poison.
And then they would put like arsenic to have that like white
mercury.
Mercury. That, but women today inject botulism into their face. So really,
not a lot's changed.
Not different. Not that different.
I mean, the difference between beauty and poison is just a matter of dosage, people.
There you go. Yeah. Well,
did we accidentally give Casey those eye drops and he put them in his eye?
Oh my God, that was the best.
And he put it only in one eye?
And we could see through to his brain.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We felt so bad.
Yeah, that's got to be awkward. Moving on, I do think that this has found fandom that I think it always says. It's been written up, and I was reading a lot of these things in reviews of this, where a lot of the Wiccan community actually appreciate this movie because it's not like overly the top with the the woo woo and the special powers and all that.
No, it takes it much more. I mean, it treats.
It's in the title, practical magic.
Practically, exactly. Like it's much more like every day. Like we do these kinds of things.
I mean, stirring your tea with the.
Every single time Alex makes bone broth at home, we have a big fucking pot full of bones and like herbs, and you stir it, and it looks like a witch's brew. And I'm like, that is some witchy shit, and it's delicious, and it's good for you.
Yeah.
Bone broth is the best.
This has been attempted to make into a series multiple times.
This would I could see this being like a mini
wasn't it like in the talks that they were going to do it in like CW or something?
It's Charmed. You're right.
I mean, but Charm's got its own like,
and that's got 3 sisters.
Too many sisters.
2 is fine. 3 is too many.
Well, because with 3, you're going to gang up on somebody, and
there's going to be the poor middle sister.
Yeah.
No,
it's rotating like allegiances.
No, Piper ends up the leader of them. Like Piper's middle child is fine.
Didn't they have to introduce another sister in Charmed as well?
They did because what's her name left?
Halfway through.
Shannon Doherty left.
This is also like
left.
Yeah, left. That's a nice way to put that.
Yeah.
Like in 2004, it was called Sudbury, set in Sudbury, Massachusetts. In 2010, they were trying to develop it again for ABC Family, which ended up falling apart.
Well, no wonder it didn't work as Sudbury because nobody knows where the fuck this is.
I know. Sorry, yeah, Sudbury is not like.
Well, this was also a fake town too, so like.
But it's not like when I think of Practical Magic, like it's not like the town from Gilmore Girls. Stars Hollow, where like they say it so many times that it sits in your head. I hate Gilmore Girls, and even I know where it's set.
How do you hate Gilmore Girls?
At least there's many. I don't like Gilmore Girls. It's too fast talking,
and everybody is everybody's detestable in that show. Like everybody's the worst example of white privilege that has. Okay, anyway.
Oh my God, so white. That is the whitest show of all the white shows that have ever whited.
You dropped back into frame just to say, "Oh my God, so white."
I have to contribute on the Gilmore Girls because they are so white.
It's
how white are they? They're so white you can't see them.
Yeah.
Well, I never watched it in high school when everybody else I know was obsessed with it. So when I was recovering from a surgery and taking massive amount of pain pills, I'm like, this is when I should watch the show. And as I weaned myself off Oxy, the show became less and less tolerant for me until I'm just like, nope, I'm sober now. My mind's
That's
my
how
own.
you knew you were like off the opioids. You were like, nope.
I just can't do it anymore. I still haven't finished it. I have no desire to. It's the worst.
Well, that's got a very young Jared Padalecki in it.
That's true. Yeah. Who is also the worst in that show.
Speaking of Moose,
I hung on until Logan at the end, and Logan is the only thing that made that show happen for me.
Yeah. I did have a fun story that Stalker Channing had showed in an interview. Apparently, she lied to the producers that she could speak French. Because they were asking if they wanted to do like a dub. They were trying to do a dub version for overseas. And she said, yeah, sure, I can do that. She can't speak French, but she thought she was just going to get a free trip to France, but then had to now sit in this recording session where she did not speak French and it was very apparent. And so they had to like coach her through a lot of the way that they were doing
that's hilarious.
This is the quote. It said, when it came to the releasing of the film abroad, there was a clause in the contract saying that if I could speak a certain language, you can dub it. So I immediately began being ridiculous, said I could speak French. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever done in my entire life. Apparently over several days, they coerced her to finally figure out how to speak French, but the person who was doing it didn't speak English, and neither did the technician. So it was like a very, very long time. They finally got it done, but they said at the end of it, the woman who was supposed to be her technician and coach, said that she basically had a Bulgarian accent.
Oh, hilarious!
So she's speaking French in a Bulgarian accent.
I love hilarious. That's
French is not a good language to fake because it only has like 80,000 vowels and 16 silent letters.
Yeah,
I know.
That's a hard one.
Nothing is pronounced the way it's spelt.
Nope.
One of my favorite things on TikTok is when they do like French is such a great language, and then it's like people doing the sentences and all the words sound the same in the sentence. And you're like, how does anybody understand what people are saying?
No, you get the context of things. I mean, we do the same thing in English with Buffalo. Like it's you get it. I did say like I haven't seen this movie probably in.
I'm surprised that they
10
haven't
years?
redone it.
I thought they were doing
really?
recently. Aren't they?
I don't know
do
if you can. Like, also,
this is one of those movies where I'm like, you haven't seen it for 10 years. I think I've seen it at least 2 years ago.
This
is really one of my Halloween
year. We watch it every year. We watch it every year, and every year we cry. I can't. Like, I'm not even like. I might as well have been watching it for the first time. I have such a like instant emotional, like none of it is ever boring to me. None of it is ever like I've seen this.
I mean, it doesn't make a fucking lick of sense, but I do really, really like it.
It gets me right in the feels.
My day was so long and boring yesterday, and I swear to God, it added 5 to 6 hours to my day.
So sorry.
It's revenge for The Happening.
Yeah, right. There you go. There you go.
At least The Happening was so bad it was funny.
No. I did a workout during The Happening.
Luckily, this one wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, no, it was the best. I was so happy.
I did say like, yeah, I haven't seen this in 10 years, and I actually I have softened on it because I was not a big fan of it when it came out, mostly because of the tone issues. I can kind of forgive it now just because I'm now focused more on the incredible performances out of everybody there.
They're just so good.
And he did tear up.
I did.
Gentle listeners.
There
Randall teared up.
I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't. I'm sorry. There was no tearing.
Oh, like, the sister love. It's like
The sister when drink. When Nicole Kidman is strung out and basically saying, "Just let me die." And Sandra Bullock's like, "No, you can't die because we're gonna die together in our old age." Like two crazy cat ladies.
And then there's me who's gonna die alone. So
no, you won't, Dana. You've got all those lovely dogs. They'll eat you.
Well,
and you know we've
I'm gonna die way before me.
And you know we've inducted you into our sisterhood.
Echo too, and Rufus is like 6.
No, this is that whole thing about like people now building their own like communes and covens.
Well,
and,
this is what Alex said. She was like, "Okay, so who's gonna be in our giant witchy house?" Because I was also saying, like, I would 100% love to have. Live in Aunt Vicky. We have an Aunt Vicky who is the coolest aunt, and if she could be like in our witchy house as our like witchy aunt, it would be great.
There you go.
I'll go with her every morning. Drink some kombucha. Dana, you can come and be in the witchy house.
Witchy houses involve cats.
Not all the time.
I can't.
You can have the cats in one
and
basement.
Helen and Alex's witchy house.
Yeah, that's
They
fair.
would be in the
have
basement, and they don't have to leave the basement because they only need the basement. They only need the like
Oh,
2
the sad
rooms.
basement
So we
cat.
have to carry around our black cats in our gorgeous like
Nobody wants sad
duster
basement
maxi
cat.
dress.
I know.
I really love the like the hat with the veil that the one aunt wears.
Oh,
Ugh.
yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
house for me. I follow like Victorian
Cheap old houses.
No, Victorian houses and witchy vibes on Instagram, and every time it pops up, I'm so happy.
I'm telling
Yeah.
you, there's always a house
High
that's
Victorian
way,
Gothic is great.
way too far upstate in New York. Like it's way too close to Albany or like,
There used to be a Victorian house
rather than, Kingston. And I'm always like, oh, that would be a really nice house, but it's
It's
6
too far.
hours away.
Yeah, it's
There
too
is
far.
a Victorian house that
And
used
the
to be by the
winters are
restaurant,
brutal.
and I always thought it was haunted
Yes, that place was great.
because it was like all dilapidated, and it had these like
It did actually
thistle
get condemned.
Yeah, it had like these thistle bushes outside, and it looked haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's New England, so it probably was.
is. Yeah. Have you checked it on the registry?
Also, one of my other favorite TikToks is like, you live in an old house in New England, and he like goes to brush his teeth, and there's a ghost in the mirror.
Yeah, there's a couple sites that have like listings of like supposedly haunted areas, and it's always fun to kind of go in and check on certain places if you pass by something. I mean, eventually you can just make your own haunted house by killing somebody in it.
There you go.
DIY.
Yeah, see?
5-minute death crafts.
I was actually mentioning because I was thinking about this and it was like I remember this movie right around the same time as Goodbye Earl.
Yes.
By
Mm-hmm.
the Chicks, formerly the Dixie Chicks, but
The Dixie Chicks.
right, but now they're
My
they're just the
go-to
Chicks.
karaoke song.
Oh yeah. So
I love that song.
that came out in like 2000. So
Mm-hmm.
it must have been a little bit later, but I don't know why I just always make that connection with this movie.
Yeah.
Because,
It's kind of the plot.
yeah, it's kind of the plot. Just murder him and bury him in the flower bed.
Well,
That would have been a great song to have.
murder
in
the abusive
soundtrack.
jackass and bury him. That's
Yeah. Except,
very similar plot.
And he's even a zombie at the end of the music
It's
video.
true.
He's up and dancing with them.
yeah, it's Dennis Franz, right?
Okay,
Something like
but
that.
back to this movie. Do they not have lie? They're witchy witches.
I know exactly. You guys should.
I said we should have just let him stay dead.
Again, if they wanted to take it much, much darker, they would have had a lie.
Yeah. Or, just start feeding it to, the several animals they had around
Seriously.
the
They should have just let
property.
him stay dead in the car and like wipe the
Or at
prints
least
off of
dismember
everything.
him.
And burned
Just
it.
take him apart so they don't find the entire.
I know.
Yeah, fine.
Don't leave the body whole. Gee,
Maybe we
also-
should stop giving people ideas.
Also,
We
Dead
are
Man.
not the ones giving people ideas. The 5,000 murder podcasts out
Right,
there. Are
yeah.
giving
But, okay, but also Dead Man's hands are like hands of glory are really important in different spell casting. So they really should have like saved those parts though.
Maybe
Yeah.
my witchy
You're
hair
right.
tonight.
They have enough jars. They could have put them in jars.
That's going to be a fun explanation at the next meeting. Where you're like, "Whoa, where'd you get that hand?"
Oh, it's just a prop.
Yeah.
It's for the atmosphere.
Yeah, I got it at Pier 1. At like a thrift store down the street.
So it's made of like bamboo.
Yeah.
It's a Damien Hirst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because didn't he do the shark and formaldehyde? He did.
I think he did.
It's a young British artist.
I think, well, the only other thing I was thinking about is like that whole storage locker scene in Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. That was creepy.
Because I'm pretty sure that house has a garage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a storm cellar. That's for sure. You don't want to go in.
The weird story that I found in a lot of places, apparently the park that the house was built on is actually it's on a heritage site. So yeah, no digging. But after the production came out and the movie came out, it was so well done that apparently the producers got a call from Barbra Streisand who wanted to buy it.
Oh, hilarious.
And they had to go, no, that's not real. That's not a thing. In.
We tore that down.
Yeah.
I read also that the cast said that even though it was like just a set that they had built, they felt a weird supernatural kind of like presence when they were doing like the Coven scenes and stuff.
I mean, technically, this film did have to have an exorcist.
Coven is Coven.
Coven. That's Coven.
Coven.
Now, okay, so American Movie is a film where they're making it's a film about making a film. And one of the jokes is that he's making a horror film called Coven.
Oh, hilarious. Okay.
But Griffin Dunn had talked about apparently they brought in a actual witch to, oversee some of like the way that they were approaching this, who then later called back and basically threatened them with a curse if they didn't pay her like $250,000.
Oh, hilarious.
Which she did, apparently. And so they had to like have an additional.
She cursed them?
Right. So they had to have an additional, basically like
dehexer?
Yeah, dehexing of the production. So
oh my God.
Yeah.
I would have gone with the curse.
Yeah, it's a little weird. There's a lot of weird magic stuff that's coming up.
Talk about an abuse of power.
So the legal department actually ended up paying her some amount of money, and then they actually paid additional money for an exorcism ceremony.
Amazing.
Yeah, that he did on himself.
Amazing. But they didn't have enough sage to burn? Come on.
I don't know. If you don't know what you're doing, that could be dangerous.
Those. You know that doesn't work.
Also, I never got the whole like
smudging.
No, like so a lot of like there was a couple references to the way that because there was a couple books that were written as a prequel to this.
Right.
Which I actually did not pick up, but they were trying to move the show, and apparently like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, HBO wanted to do like a prequel of this, except set in the 60s in New York City, which I think could be kind of interested as like,
her mom,
a retro
yeah, maybe the mom is the really much younger sister of the two aunts, right?
Maybe, yeah, because
we don't know whose aunts they are.
Yeah, and they have to wrestle with as this quote goes, they wrestle with the abnormalities.
Oh.
Which,
yeah, because the aunts look the same age when they're with the mom and the young.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's also implied that, all of the women in this family just are ethereally timeless.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine when they get to a certain, whatever century mark, they just kind of like wander out into the woods. You know how the way that like Sandra Bullock comes out of the woods at the end looking really like just flawless in that beautiful like burnt velvet dress or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that at one point the aunts will just wander back into the woods like a wounded cat and just disappear.
Also, like, who is the aunts doing the solstice?
Oh, that's
dance?
part of they're part of
Those
the
are
whole
outside covens.
Yeah,
they're on the committee.
They're on the whole committee. Yeah.
They're on the committee.
I know,
so
where?
Out, the greater New England area. Come on.
It's the New York witches. It's the Connecticut witches.
Yeah.
See,
they have softball teams.
Delaware, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
I would love to be on the softball team with the witches.
The Colorado witches are just high all the time. They're worse.
Yeah.
See?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. No, I like that concept of like,
Connecticut wishes show up in twin sets.
Like the failure of imagination on something like Fantastic Beasts, which is like what does the regional American witch and warlock Community look like and do. And then, none of that ever happened. I was like, oh, that would be fun because you could incorporate, let's say, like the way like Neil Gaiman wrote things about, all these other cultures and mysticisms and pull them together. And it's like, nope, just gonna suck. Anyway,
we've stopped talking about it.
I did want to mention that I think it's really funny that the film that Nicole Kidman did right before this was The Peacemaker.
Weird. Yeah. What did she do right after?
Eyes Wide. She was shooting Eyes Wide Shut while they were.
You're fucking kidding me. She went from Practical Magic to Eyes Wide Shut.
No.
Eyes Wide Shut took like 2 years to shoot.
She was shooting Eyes Wide Shut, and Practical Magic was the first film that she did after that, which is why it was really awkward for her to like not do 70, 80 takes. So there was a little bit of an adjustment. Because Sandy B is just knocking them out of the park. She's like, pro 2, 3, let's go. And they're like, wait, well, we only have to do that. Oh, okay. We're not spending all 3 weeks on one scene. Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
That's because Sandy B is, perfection.
Yeah. Well, she didn't produce this one on, which is weird because she was already producing her own films, I think, at this point. But maybe it's just because this is like a bigger production that she kind of signed on to. I know she said in interviews because this is also like after Speed 2, and she was like, I don't want to do blockbusters anymore. I want to do like these weird ass movies. $75 million though in 1998. That was a fair amount of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah, like it's I mean, you see it on the screen. It's definitely like they put the money into the movie, but still
the scene with him as a ghost is like when he like pops out of her body to try and possess.
His shiny eyes were so good.
Yeah.
Shiny eyes. The fact that he's kind of black and white, like
and also kind of see through, but not. And like,
I think it's really well done.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of fun.
We love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it in October, maybe late September.
Maybe
only
just
children. Just move on. There are plenty of things for us too.
We're gonna do some midnight margaritas.
Midnight margaritas, and we will watch it.
Yeah. That's it. And then,
except it'll probably be more like 9 o'clock margaritas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So celebrate your matricide with a good blend of tequila and lime juice. I have to play
matricide?
Yeah.
We're not killing our mom.
No. I had the same argument with him.
It is that is killing spouse or boyfriend.
No, matricide is killing your mother.
Yeah.
Patricide is killing your father. I don't know what.
I'm looking it up right now.
Spousicide?
Patricide. The killing of one's mother.
What's that killing of a partner?
Killing a partner is
Meriticide.
Meriticide.
I like spousicide.
Meriticide.
Well, now I got to say that all over again.
Oh man, just drop it in.
Meriticide.
And then people won't understand why it sounds so weird until they get to the very end of the episode.
Meriticide. Say it a couple more times and then you're all set.
Meriticide doors.
Yeah. Meriticide doors is the perfect
Meriticide doors. Yeah, I'm just going to shove that in there. All right.
Because I was like, matricide is definitely killing your mom. We're not going to kill our mom.
No, we're
trying to keep her alive.
It's either killing your mom or killing your mattress.
Guys,
the best part was the storyline trying to figure out why you were suggesting that they kill their mom.
I thought you were talking about like way back the ancestor, where they tried to kill like the ancestor.
No, I'm just like functionally illiterate. That's why. Anyway, yeah. All right. I don't know how we're gonna.
Yeah, I think we're
sisters. Drink.
That was like 5 drinks, guys.
Yeah.
Drink up.